Welcome back, everybody, to episode 172 of the Lookout Podcast. I am Meelz. I am here with LJ. What's up, LJ?
I'm emotional.
Why?
I'm very emotional today.
Oh, is it because of the show?
Yeah. I'm very emotional.
I was like, oh, I thought something else happened.
No. I was just emotional. It's the show, man. It's the end. It's the conclusion. We're coming together to speak on this wonderful anime that we just spent the last
5 weeks, 6 weeks. This is a 6 weeks. This is a 6 weeks.
Yeah,
this is probably the most we've gone consistently in a row in a long ass time. I thought about taking a break in the middle of it. I was like, oof, this is kind of a lot. But also, like, you know, let's just get it over with, but let's just get it over with. This has been a long journey, not an arduous, and this is so crazy because I feel like I've covered longer series in shorter amount of time. But the amount of stuff that happened.
Yeah, because I mean, I feel that when y'all did what's Dragon Ball Z?
We've done.
I think when y'all did the Boo arc, I mean, wasn't the Boo arc more like it was essentially the same amount of time, more episodes?
Yeah, I think so. Boo arc is like 100 something episodes. It's pretty long. Yeah, we've done this in like less time, with more things. But even though back then when we did Boo arc, it was like 2020. We had all the time to record. We would record twice a day. We would record 2 parts back to back. We would record we'd do it all types of different ways.
Man, we
interesting.
Need another lockdown.
I want to ask you a question, since I know you're a connoisseur of this. I was scrolling on my timeline and I just came past a funnel cake sandwich, which is it's a crispy chicken sandwich with both buns as funnel cake.
Nah, and then I think bro, that's too much. It's too
much. So I wanted to ask you, what's the wildest sandwich that you've ever had?
The wildest sandwich I ever had?
Wildest sandwich, yes.
I've had, and I've even made wild sandwiches before.
Okay, all right, even better.
I've I've made some crazy shit before. I've eaten some crazy shit before. I'm trying to think.
Just a crazy sandwich, bro.
Okay, there's 2. One's technically not a sandwich, but it's like a sandwich-esque kind of thing.
Okay.
And one is an actual sandwich. So the one was at this barbecue spot I went to when I was in Texas, and it was like one of those like, we put everything that we make back here between 2 like buns, and that's pretty much it. It was a very horrific but great experience attempting to eat that sandwich.
Okay. What was in it, if you don't mind me asking?
Oh man, it was like brisket and pulled chicken, and they put like mac and cheese on it. Like it was legit, like everything on the menu. Like it was just like this cornucopia of just shit on that sandwich.
That sounds like Goku gets the heart virus kind of sandwich.
Yeah, like it was really one of those. It was like one of those things where I was like, you know what, fuck it, like let me just try it. Second one is, so it's not technically a sandwich, but there's a diner here that me and Kaya really love to go to. And they do these things called, let me get that actual name correct. Where is it? So where is it on this menu? They're called high tops. And so what it is essentially it's a glazed donut, and on top, and they essentially sandwich just a bunch of shit between a glazed donut. And they have one called the Gary Cooper, and it's crispy buttermilk fried chicken, maple bourbon syrup, country gravy, green onions, and between on essentially a donut.
That sounds good. I mean, I don't know if I would. I probably wouldn't order it out of fear of my own health. I feel like I'm one major sandwich away from some sort of health crisis. And the only thing that's avoiding me from doing that is just avoiding it overall. But that sounds good. I just sent you the funnel cake chicken sandwich.
Yeah, I see. So shout out to Miss Big Back, because anytime she comes up on my timeline, it's always some wild, like, crazy things that she pulls up. Some of it looks good. Some of it's like, I know as soon as I take a bite of that, like my stomach is gonna hate me for it. Yeah, like I haven't eaten nothing like crazy like that. Like even the diner thing that I said, that was probably like a year and a half ago, maybe, like the last time I ever even ate something that
We're trying to respect
ridiculous.
our health. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
nah, yeah, for sure. I can't. There was definitely a time in my life where I'm like, man, I could eat all types of shit and be perfectly fine the next day.
But now a
Just,
little less. You still got
yeah,
more time though. You're not 30 yet, so you still got a couple. You're almost there, but you still got
I am almost there. It was funny. My uncle yesterday, because we were talking about birthdays and birthday parties. I was like, yeah, I kind of have an idea what I want to do for my birthday this year, because I never do anything for my birthday. And I'm like, you know what, this year, fuck it, I'm gonna attempt to do something. He's like, man, you turning 30 this year, right? I was like, nah, bro, 29. I'm like, I'm not there yet. Not there yet.
It's so nuts, man. That's kind of crazy.
I
You're
know
pretty much there
you.
though. You're pretty much there though, I would
When we
say.
became friends, I was a young, idiotic 24, 23.
I want to say we became friends 2018, 19. You came for WrestleMania.
19 I came, but we were friends before that.
I want to say a little bit before that, like a little, not
Not like,
like a
oh,
whole
we've been
year.
years, but like, but yeah, God,
I want
yeah,
to
I
say
was
2018.
2018.
I was 28.
Yeah, and God, I was
You were
20,
born in 95.
95.
Okay, I had to always remember. Um, so yeah, you're 5 years younger than me. So it is what it is. You're almost there. Um,
Almost.
almost there. My favorite. Speaking of ages, my favorite quote of this entire thing.
Yeah,
Of
23. I
this.
was 23, man. That's crazy. We're almost pushing 10 years of friendship.
There we go. Speaking of years, my favorite quote from this series of episodes was King Bradley said to Fu, "You move pretty well for your age, and you're even older than me. But this is where this is where it ends for you." He said something along those lines. Let me see if I can pull up the actual quote. It was pretty hard before he gave Fu the final
Oh man, he gave
slap.
food to business.
Yeah, it was pretty hard. He was like, I wrote it down because I was like, damn, that's pretty tough. He says, "You move quick for an old man. You're even older than I am, but this is as old as you're gonna get."
Barred
And
him
then
up.
before we brought him up. But listen, all right, let's get into this Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's the final part. It's the final part of the story. We're
Do we have
ending
any
it
notes
off.
from this week?
What do you mean? We have news this week, but we'll save it because to me it's just cussing out My Hero Academia fans. That's pretty much my only news.
Yeah, have your
Um,
moment. Get it
no,
out.
I'll do it another time. I have plenty of time. The thing is, I'm not so quick to jump on. There's some. Would I like My Hero Academia animation to be better sometimes, like its contemporaries? Yes, but I'm not mad. It's not bad. I
Yeah,
mean,
nah, we've seen so much worse. Cough, cough. AOT season 1.
what's crazy? Yeah, Studio Bones, which the series you're talking about, is the same people who do My Hero Academia, and they did amazing for these. For these last bit of episodes. So I can't imagine what they're going to do for My Hero's last few episodes. I don't expect it to be, especially when you look at shit. I don't want to spoil it. What's going to happen in the first couple of episodes of this season, and what happens in the last 3 episodes of this season? It's kind of similar with the whole giant father comes out of the thing and Earth and then pulls things down and stuff like that. We're going to see something similar to that in the early episodes, maybe even the first episode. Actually, they're gonna do the thing where it's the first episode is actually mad filler content. But yeah, I don't want to. No, I don't want to bring that energy into my life. I want to finish off this story. I can hold it for another time. We properly talk about anime news, so we can properly get into it and really stretch our legs out with it. With the finale of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, what would you say? Rather than, so I don't really want to go through it line by line, bar by bar. So I want to ask you, what would you say has been what was the most exciting part of this finale to you?
Oh, Ed getting his arm back.
Ah,
Ed getting his arm back was just like the moment for me, because there's there's a lot that leads up to that moment. Obviously, father,
in God mode.
yeah, he's in God mode. He accomplishes his plan. Asterisk on it, because shout out to Hohenheim, the big hoe, for having a contingency plan set up for that.
I didn't like
Um,
that, but it is what it is.
you didn't like it?
No, I was
Why
just like,
not?
this seems too convenient. Like, I get that it was
But
but
it
like
makes sense.
I understand it, but it was like 4 seconds after he achieved. like people weren't even dead for more than like 7 minutes in the episode before they all got their bodies back. That's why I didn't like it. I was like, oh, okay,
Would
all
you have
right,
liked it to be a thing of at the end this happens? Like,
yeah, something
yeah,
along
like
those lines. Give me
they're
some
they're dead
time.
for like 2 hours.
Yeah, let him
Hours.
get some room to breathe. You know what I'm saying? Let the deaths
Yeah.
really sink in before everybody miraculously gets their souls back in their body, and it's like, actually, I did this while you were sleeping. Blah blah blah. Blah. But go on with Ed and his arm.
No, for sure. No, I get it though. Like for me, I like it because it you know Hohenheim and Father, they have been separate for so long, and people just kind of think that Hohenheim was just like going off in the world and not doing anything, or just like traveling and teaching alchemy and
Just being a
alchemy.
bad anime dad, you know?
Yeah, just being a regular bad anime dad. But in reality, like he was actually like really prepping for Father's plan and understanding. So like for me,
He
I'm
was
looking
trying
at
to
it as a
save the
standpoint.
world for his kids and everybody else as well.
Yeah, and no, I see it from a standpoint of like, hey, Father had his plan, Honheim had this plan. Like, he had some things set up, so it's not like he was just using his time unwisely. But no, I think the moment of the moment where Al's like, hey, May, I need you to do this thing for me real quick. Him having to convince her, Al kind of understanding like this is his big sacrifice that he has to do, to save and to like get his body back. And um, you know, the moment of I like the fact that we don't see like Ed actually his arm like grow back. I like the fact that it's like he just looks over and his arm is there and he has this big
Right.
scar and he's like, what and then the moment of
The
him just
sequence after that, he pulls the shit out of his other arm,
yeah,
and then really goes ham sandwich on him.
yeah, like it's just a moment where you're in awe, you're stuck, you're like, holy shit, like he breaks and you're like, yo, he's going ballistics. And um I know throughout this series too, I mean, Ed's in a bunch of like different battles and a bunch of different fights. I don't think he has um a real true definitive like win. He has a couple, but like nothing where you're like, oh shit, like, he's great. But there, someone always either comes to the rescue or comes to aid or comes to assistance. But like
Right.
this moment right here, you're just kind of like, you just see him go full throttle, all gas, no brakes. Um, yeah, it's like it's just one of those pop moments where your eyes are wide open and you're just staring at the TV screen and you're just like you're cheering for him. You're like, let's like fucking go, like let's do this. Yeah, that moment right there, that is the moment for me during this like ending where I that just lives in my brain. I'm just like, man, this is peak for me. I'm just like, this is great.
Absolutely, man. I would say, first of all, if I had to choose one word to describe this ending of Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, I would probably say satisfying. Um, it really gives you peak moments, character arcs that are kind of like seen through, problems that were established are really kind of resolved, and it doesn't really like try to cheapen the moment by throwing in too many twists. It kind of just says like, hey, this is the end, and the main characters are going to win. So it was really really satisfying watching it the first time and actually watching it the second time because I watched it twice this week. Um, I would say probably my favorite moment of these last batch of episodes. It's kind of I. It's weird. I was also going to say the Ed thing, but also another favorite of mine. I have two, but I think we're going to share this moment, and actually we'll talk about it at a later thing. But one of mine is kind of the arc of Greed, right? So Greed is introduced. He's like this rebel, doesn't really stand with the other homunculi, kind of like beats his own drum. He eventually captures. I mean, he eventually is killed, and then he's thrown into the body of Ling, and then we see these kind of back and forth of Ling. But you eventually see that what Greed doesn't want, he doesn't really truly want world domination. All he really wanted was like friendship, I guess, whatever the anime thing is, anime trope is. Um, and he got that in a sense, and he eventually becomes. I mean, he spends most of this time being the anti-hero of the series and eventually leads to kind of like the deciding moment in the final battle where father tries to go for his philosopher's stone and then he pulls him in but he do some reversing on him. He says, actually, instead of making my body full carbon so you become this really evil next level Frieza type of character, I'm gonna do the opposite and make it the cheapest material ever. um
Yeah,
and
he gave him a machine body.
yeah. And they were able to blow him apart, and it was friggin' amazing. I just like to say, like, yeah, the arc of Greed um, has been amazing throughout this entire ordeal, and he's one of our favorite characters on it. Um, and yeah, it's that part was really really good. I truly truly enjoyed it. Um, Going through this final thing, we hit a lot of big moments. First big moment was the link up of a lifetime, which I thoroughly love, where Olivier and Alex meet Sig and Azumi Curtis to
Oh,
beat
bro,
Sloth.
what the
I
meme that that lives 1,000 lives.
when they look at one another and it's just twinkle, it's like the respect but also the admiration but also like love but also like damn, like these two muscle bound guys just kind of like these are moments that like it's just great moments that they're able to capture in this series. You're able to take a step back from all the seriousness in a moment to really kind of admire that both of these incredibly strong guys are just admiring one another.
Even
um
like but like I even like even Azumi and General
yeah,
Armstrong, where it's like you
yeah.
have these two really strong, powerful women who also appear and also like give each other that respect of like you a baddie, I'm a baddie, like we're gonna be baddies together. You know,
She
like
was like,
it's,
"Wow, we could use people like you." You know what I'm saying? It was great
yeah.
to hear. It was great to hear Olivia. I feel like she's as early as, I mean, as late as she was introduced. I do feel like there was a little bit softer. She was a little bit reeled back a bit in the series and kind of realized that you can't do everything yourself in a bit, because it's at this there's several points throughout this where, like, for instance, Azumi's like, um we're gonna head down through Olivia is like, we're gonna head down through this tunnel and like we're gonna go down there and we're gonna beat people up, and Azumi's like, I'm gonna make a tunnel for us to get out to the street so we can escape because you look like you need a rest. Like her whole arm has been dislocated. And then there's the funny part where they're after father goes up to the surface, they're heading up to the surface, and Greeta's like, you know, big guy, girl with one arm, other girl, you need to get down right now. No humans can kind of go up there. And she's like, my men need me. And it's like, you have no place up there right now.
He's
Like, you
like,
need to learn
listen,
how to
you see
step
what
back.
the destruction this man just did? Do you see what he just
Unless,
accomplished?
unless you got powers.
Yeah.
See,
He was like,
like,
hey, no Batman's allowed. He was like, hey, we need nothing but superheroed, like, man.
yeah.
But no, I think, like you said, I think it's the once again within her short amount of time that we are able to be with her, you see a tremendous amount of growth of her as a person, but her as a leader too.
Right. Even
You
when
know,
even comes to the end, it's like, hey, she doesn't necessarily, I mean, she orders them. She was like, hey, I heard you guys are gonna back the Ishvala and revival thing. Do your thing. She even asks Scar's name and she smiles. There's a lot of moments where she's smiling throughout the end of this thing. And it's nice to see.
yeah. I mean, and even that moment where you're talking about like greeting them when they're heading up, and um you know, while her soldiers are on the phone talking to her, and they're just like, listen, you prepared us for this. You prepared us to be able to make the tough calls with or without you. So like, I
Right.
don't want you worrying about us. I don't want you, like, you have trained us well. And I think for like any leader to hear their, you know, subordinates, or hear, you know, any of them, um you know, any person working under them come to them and say, hey, like, you ain't got to worry about what, you know, it's like, you ain't got to worry about us. You ain't got to worry about none of that shit. Like, we good, you know, like, go take care of yourself. I'm, you know, that as a leader, it's like, what more can you want? You know, to hear the people working under you say, like, listen, you have trained us well enough that we're gonna survive with or without you. Um,
Absolutely.
no, yeah, her moment. I mean, obviously, like you said, like, one thing I really love about this series is that going back to our big muscle men, is that
Hmm.
they know how to sprinkle in like some lightheartedness and some humor at like the perfect time. Like,
Right.
it's the absolute perfect time. Like, this was a great moment to be like, okay, like, you know, remembering that, hey, like, man, we're watching a show. We're watching an animated show. We're watching this show that, you know, and it brings you back into that. And then they're able to kind of move on. You know, they have their moment. Like, you know, they're doing the muscle things together, the twinkles in the eyes, the muscle bulges, and then they do this like combo punch, and you're sitting there like, man, this is a great moment. Like, what a amazing moment. I mean, and against a, you know, I think they did it too against the right character like Sloth, where
Right.
you know, Sloth was, you know, he had his job, but he, you know, I wouldn't consider him one of the top homunculi. He had his job, and like, he died the death that I feel he was supposed to die.
Speaking of homunculi, King Bradley, Fuhrer Bradley. What a moment. As soon as everything feels like it's going right, like we're taking central command, you know, we're done this, you know, da da da. And then King Bradley shows up on the phone. It's like, actually,
Well, it seems that.
right, one of those, and it's like his voice cuts through immediately, and you feel the tension. He walks in, it's like,
I mean, I even love the legit first initial introduction when Al and them are trying to get the car out the ditch, and all you see is the sword and the rolled up sleeve, and you're like,
yeah.
oh shit. You're like, it's about to like, oh my god. Yeah, it's about to go down.
It's him standing in the foreground. In the background you see this giant castle kind of thing, and you realize like he's taking that on all by himself, and he absolutely does, because what King Bradley, I wrote in my notes, he's alive and he's up to no good. Like, he pulls up immediately and sets the fear of God in everybody. I mean, he shows up, he doesn't even ask for help. He just asks for people to do their jobs. And he shows up, and with one sword, he demolishes a tank, he kills mad
I've never
people.
seen a tank go in reverse like that before.
I
Like, they didn't even have, like, they backed up with no like care or like, they were just like, we need to get the hell out of
Yeah,
here.
it is like, fuck this. I mean, he's slicing through missiles, he's slicing through everything. He's King Bradley's fucking people up. And he's his frontal assault and central command overpowers everyone. He eventually gets up to the top where he's up against Buccaneer, Fallman, and Greed. And the battle between all of them, first of all, Buccaneer gets done.
Oh,
Um,
crazy.
he gets pretty much killed. Then comes in Fu, who's avenging him taking the arm of his granddaughter. And Fu comes in, and Fu's doing work. We talked about Fu already, because he had that line where it's like, nigga, this is about to come to a quick ending. You know what I'm saying? You may have a long life, but it's going to come to a short end. You know what I'm saying? But they have that battle, and it's everyone. I mean, Greed is also in there. He's trying to go up against Wrath, and you kind of see how big of a threat this man is. And it isn't until legitimately, well, he kills Fu. Sad death. Uh, but it's, I guess, I don't know. It's him not realizing that he didn't have everyone down, which allows King Buccaneer to go through Fu with the sword to get to King Bradley himself. And I was like, damn, shout out to that Buccaneer, man.
Yeah, Buck. Yeah, man. Listen, he's a brick soldier. He's a brick soldier, and he does what what the Brigsmen do. Um,
Absolutely.
it was a. Oh, I think I said this last episode, and this is very apparent in this. In these final stretches, the way that everyone gets to play a role in this battle
Mm-hmm.
and actually have like an impact, or and it's not always like, oh, some random side character getting a big kill or anything like that, but they all play
Mm-hmm.
a role. Like, you literally can think of like how you know King Barely having to fight them, like how that actually has a lasting impact of like him fully being defeated. Like, everyone plays this role, and it's great. Like, it's like everyone gets to touch the ball just a little bit, and just
Yeah.
because you touch the ball, they don't make them a superstar. Or they don't make, but everybody plays it, and it's to see all the pieces come together. For them to win, to win this final battle, it's great. 'Cause I think a lot of times in anime, things are fully put on the shoulders of,
Shoulders of the main character,
yeah,
yeah.
the main
And
character.
everyone is a little bit expendable.
Yeah, they're kind of just like, whatever. Like, they everything else is plot armor. Everything else is kind of just like, oh, they're used for power scaling. Like, but here you're like, wow, like everyone here not only just has a role, but they play their role to the fullest, and you see it, and you can even see it in their own character personalities, that like they even understand, like, man, this is my role that I have to play. Like, Buccaneer even just being like, man, listen, you're not gonna go out a more warrior death than me. Like,
Right.
like, is this thing of like, they all understand that, man, they are soldiers, and they have ranks and titles for a reason. Like, Buccaneer never went out there and started acting like the general and was like, man, I'm top guy. Like, no, he understood his role that he needed to play. Hey, we not opening these gates for no reason. That's my
Right.
order, and that was the thing that I was told to do. So guess what? That's what we're doing. And you see that, and you see that with so many different characters. And I think that's what just makes this anime, it just adds more to this anime, and why like these final moments are so great, because you just see how everyone's just like playing together as a team, and how it all comes together. Yeah, just another one of those moments. I mean, there's a bunch of like really key ones, especially during these final stretches like that, but like this is one of the highlights. Buccaneer, Fu, um even the moment, and like Fu's death too, like it was so like heartfelt, and you kind of get caught up in that moment. You see, Ling, he kicked Greed to the side. It was like, man, nah, like, not Fu, not my OG. He was sick.
Yeah. Absolutely. Um so that moment on top of Central, I mean, they're retaking Central. It seems like the momentum is shifting back in the favor of, I don't know if you can call them. I mean, everyone's a bad guy. I guess they're bad guys, but truly, the Central Warriors don't really know what they're doing. Even through various attempts, like they're being told that they're not part of the final plan, and they're even spelled out to them that they're not going to be part of the final plan. They're all going to be sacrifices. They're like, we're not sure what we should do. And even General Armstrong is, well, more Zumi Curtis, of course, our third co-host.
Oh,
Sirens.
they're ramping up.
Yeah. Um, Azumi Curtis, or I think it's Olivier or Azumi Curtis, is just like, listen, you got to live for something. You got to stand for something. If you can't just live your life, um, just doing these things for no reason, or just living your life and just following these orders. Like, stand for something. And that's when they all throw off their things. And like, we have retired effectively today. Um, How did you feel about the Gold Tooth Doctor? I felt like he came out of nowhere, to be honest with you. I was like, oh wow, I guess this makes sense, but also like he's like the this is like you got out of Victory Road and you're on the way to the Elite Four. And then Gary shows up and you didn't even know that he was going to be there. And he's like, actually, do you want to battle? And you're forced to battle him. That's what this felt like to me.
Yeah, it was a curveball for sure, but it got in the zone. Like
Yeah.
it was, you know,
I mean,
like
he played a role. He played a role. I mean, he played a pretty big role. But
yeah. But I
he
like
came out of nowhere.
how he was kind of like, because
his eyes was crazy though.
yo, his eyes were wicked. I was just like, damn, he had the notorious B.I.G. Oh, but no, it was, his moment was great because obviously throughout this series they talk about how this isn't, you know, this wasn't a one man show or wasn't just a homunculus. Like it was a collective. Like the whole government was behind everything that was going on, and so obviously you had to know, like there had to be some type of doctor or something, you know, like, and for him to kind of come out at the end of the shadows and then come out like, hey, listen, you got to remember that King Bradley wasn't a one-time experiment. Like, I mean, we tried multiple times to get a King Bradley. And he was like, not all of them died. So it's like,
right.
here, you know, here are the other ones. And you know,
here are the other ones, the Nomu. You know what I'm saying?
The Nomus, you know, like, so here are the failed yet successful experiments. But then him also too, like having his role in playing, like, okay, he's the one that's activating the transmutation circle to get all them, you know, like, he, once again, his moment may be short lived, but it was impactful and it felt intentional. Like he didn't just come out of nowhere and they were just like, oh, here's this doctor that has, like, no, he felt very intentional. His moment felt very intentional and it was very impactful. Like he had a role to play for even his own team, but even when, you know, Pride pulls up and kills him so they could force Mustang to do it, like, you know, he still had this, like, this role to play. So like,
if he was a basketball player, who would he be?
If he was a basketball player, who would
he's
he
probably
be?
like a six man coming off the bench. Who would he be?
I'm trying to think of a. He's well, he's a starter now. I was gonna say Naz Reid, but
I mean, yeah. Coming off the bench. Who's coming off the bench this season? Let me look at the teams. A good 6 man. I know who's in potential for. I mean, there's like
he's Malik Monk.
I was gonna say that, but I didn't want to. I feel like Malik Monk is mad aggro, and he was too. To be fair,
I was trying to think of a big. Like, he's not a guard. He's
Bobby Portis.
Yeah, he's dead. Yeah, there we go. he's Bobby Portis.
He's Bobby Portis with the eyes too.
Yeah, there he is.
But he comes out to pretty much act as a stonewall for Havoc, Mustang, Ed, Hawkeye, Greed, Darius, etc., and he creates this transmutation circle, which brings Ed, Al, and Azumi to another location where they, you know, meet with Father. But before we even get there, Hohenheim encounters Father, goes back and forth with them. They have this little battle, but eventually Hohenheim gets overpowered, and now gets, I guess, trapped in him, trapped in Father. So now they're there. There's 4. They need a 5th person. They're like, listen, it's going to have to be you, Mustang. Mustang is like, nah. So they slit the throat of Hawkeye, and they're like, actually, yes. And then she's like, either she's going to bleed out, you perform this. And he's like, actually, nah. Because, like, we're not afraid to die, even though this series has not killed that many people. If it was Attack on Titan, she'd be done with. It'd be over.
She would have been eaten, and then we would have been moving on to the next.
Yeah, of course. But he says no, so they essentially force him to, and this made me sad for the series, because we love Mustang, but him being forced to do the transmutation circle, it's Wrath and Pride who essentially helped force him, and then the doctor eventually gets killed in the aspect because they had to sacrifice the doctor for this. But this man he loses his sight. It's pretty. I was like, damn, that's pretty tough. That's fucked up, kind of. Not even like one eye, like, you know, both eyes. He's like, Ed, how are we supposed to battle this thing in this room full of darkness? It's like darkness. What are you talking about? Like we
Like,
all
bro, it's
here.
right in here. He's like,
It's
there's LEDs in this
it
bitch. What are you
is
talking about?
regular. It is regular degular up in here. And it's like, no, this darkness. And it's like, oh my god, they took this man's eyesight. And suddenly he's just like the blind man now. He does not he plays a little bit of a role in the final thing, but ultimately, like he's just blind now. I was like,
Yeah,
fuck.
he's blind. I think it Father's explanation of it too was so funny also.
Because he was talking
It's
cash
like
shit. He was like,
yeah, he
a guy
was. He
who wanted to see his country, and now he can't see it all. Ha ha. And I
he
was just like,
was like, damn, he's like kicked him in the nuts, bro.
I would
Like,
have just started swinging. I was like, fuck out of here. No, but I don't know. Part of me was like, I was upset that he got blinded because I felt like we had all these great moments with him, and he has a last great moment, but it's clear like he's not like, I don't know. Something about it just didn't sit right with me with him being blind at the end of the series. After all that he did, after all the things he saw, after all the emotions he put in plan and pretty much getting everything where it needed to be, for him to just have his sight taken away to me, I was like, that's kind of messed up. And it just be like permanently gone. Like he doesn't even get it back at the end of the thing. Um, Kind of messed up. Either way, they got all five there. Greed shows up. He's like, actually, I'm going in here to stop this as well. Um, the father's like, actually, this is all part of my plan, even including you, Greed, being here. So he opens up. They did this big, stupid transmutation circle, a big nationwide is on your side kind of transmutation circle, and you see everyone in the mistress is pretty much dead. The whole thing, you see like the big, graphics of him coming out of the doorway of his own, and he's like, become one with me, God, and da, 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 and he tries to pull, God in and stuff like that. Um and he gets his godly power. He's in God mode. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Um
It was a
but like
great
you
I love the animation in that too. And like even the visual of like father becoming like this big monster, then the
it was
moon
very
opening up.
unsettling. That's what I liked about it. I like unsettling things. I like
Yeah.
things that take me out of my element and like, oh wow, that's it. Not like stakes that are like stakes. Like show me the stakes, you know what I'm saying? JJK, show me what's going to happen. You know what I'm saying? That's all I want.
Mhm.
Um, but yes, it was all like I said earlier. It was all reversed in a matter of moments because Hohenheim was like, actually, I've been creating this plan the entire time, talking to the 634 souls in my body, and we use this to actually create a countermeasure in place. And they're like, he's like, what? And then they activate the umbral transmutation circle, the reverse transmutation circle, the transmutation circle that, they don't show us on the news. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
Um,
they don't. Listen, banned from TV, you know.
I was like, how you ain't realize there's a whole other transmutation circle? But you know what? Fair. Um, Everyone
I
can
love
still
the
out
fact
have
that
it.
too the philosopher's stones aren't like really people, but they're talking to Hohenheim like Hohenheim, we got you. We got you,
Yeah.
big dog. It's our time to shine now.
And now they're just like used to bring everybody back to life. So now they got to hold off Father and God mode, and they're doing terrible at it. And Scar is facing Wrath up above, and he eventually does beat Bradley. And he
Yeah.
activates the second part of the transmutation circle. And they head to the surface for the final battle. Ed stays down to beat Pride, beats him pretty good, turns him into a little baby fetus or whatever the hell it is. Was that like reincarnation? I was confused about that.
Yeah, I was a little bit too. I'm thinking that obviously that since Pride was using that body as a shell, I was thinking of it as like the same way that like Father was using Hohenheim as like a shell in terms of like maybe that kid was an actual person at one moment in time, and
Right,
you know
right.
he just essentially took his body over, and so when Ed reached in it's like he's pulling that soul out, like that one singular soul. And I also like the greed or no, the Kimberly moment of Kimberly and Pride. Kimberly in there like, oh, you
Kimberly,
think that?
actually,
Yeah, Kimberly's in there like, man,
Jessica.
listen. All do you think these souls are fucking with me? He's like, I love this sound. I love this music. It's my favorite song of all time. Oh,
Absolutely.
he was like,
So
yeah, that's a real
mm,
guilty pleasure. He's like, nah, the cries of dying people. But no,
um,
I also like his moment though with Kimberly, of just being like when Ed pops in, he's like, you think Ed's gonna kill me? He's like, you don't know Ed. Then he's like, Ed ain't coming in here to kill you, fool.
so father goes up to the top. He claims, and everyone's going up to the top as well. Everyone's like, you know what, we're coming with these plans. We got to stop this guy. And they're showing up, and everyone's shooting at him. And tanks and bullets and guns and things, and trying to kicks and alchemy and all this other stuff. And none of that shit is working. Um, you know, what ends up being the one that? Well, first
Well,
it's
hold on. We're missing the the pseudo father son Kamehameha with Hohenheim, Al and Ed
that wasn't
when
really. He was trying to hold him off. He lost both of his hands.
what? Huh?
I mean, not really. I mean, I don't know if it was a blast or anything, but he was just
No, it
yeah,
was
he was,
it was just cool seeing the
this is true.
Hohenheim trying to block that blast, and then you see like Ed get Al get behind him and Ed get behind him, and he's like,
Right. And a lot of those blasts end up hurting Al too, where his body is kind of like he's unable to use his body to the standpoint.
yeah,
Mustang Armstrong and a Hawkeye launch a coordinated attack on Father. That was kind of cool. It was like I'm
that was
blind, but not I'm down,
I'm
but not
blind, but
out.
not useless. I'm not
Yeah.
useless. Hey, shout out to the military trainer. She was giving this man coordinates, and he was
And,
sniping.
and again, she's part of the final ending thing too, right? Like these instances, it's like the bond between them, even through lack of eyesight, could not be broken, and they still trust one another, and they still have faith in one another, and he's still, um, you know, uh, going in, and then greed shows up. He tries to drain his father's energy, but he can't. Father then struggles to maintain the God within him, and he's like, actually, it's like my body wasn't equipped for all this like fire. So he's like, I need a new philosopher stone. And this moment, it is then Alphonse, who's unable to move, initiates a transmutation circle to sacrifice himself to save Edward. Ed, Alphonse's body is restored, and well, not his body is restored, but Ed regains his arm, his right arm, and he attacks Father, and it is a
I'm
brutal
talking
beating.
about what a combo.
Yeah, he had some sort of alchemy that like throws out like fists from the ground and shit, and it's like, and everyone's cheering out. It's like, get him, Al, you got this, da da da. And yeah, Ed lays him out with a true punch, but the battle isn't over yet because he still wants that Philosopher's Stone, and he goes after greed. And Ling inside is trying to stop greed stop the father from taking greed, but greed is like essentially, let me go, da da da. He relinquishes this, thing. Father absorbs greed power, but is tricked by greed's carbon armor ability, causing his own body to crumble. Father is pulled into the gate as he laments as a failure to become a perfect being, and the battle is over. Ling is now the last soul left in his body. The Xerxian souls are released from Father's body, and they have defeated Father. They have defeated the evil that pretty much was all around them.
Okay, so here's a moment where usually I could typically know like, oh, Meelz would like this, or like Meelz wouldn't. This
Mm-hmm.
was one where I was a little confused.
Okay.
How did you feel about the moment between, you know, the homunculi father talking to God?
Um, I thought it was kind of. I do think it was kind of bad. Just because
See,
like
I was like, he's either gonna be like, you know what, it was cool, or I was like, he's not gonna like it at all.
he was like, oh, it was about like because at the end of the day, apparently it's about friendship. Like, like that was the key overall to be able to get his thing power, and
I don't even think it was about
it
friendship.
was he
I think
was
it was more about selflessness and just like he was just
right
like,
selflessness, right.
you know, he's like, you're so arrogant. You wanted
You thought
all this
you
power
could
to will for
you could
yourself.
become a perfect being by releasing these seven deadly sins of yours, and you thought you could be better than everybody else, but you actually wasn't better than anybody else. You actually became this evil weirdo and stuff like that, and that's what the other being was kind of saying. And I was just like, huh, I guess okay, sure. Um, I didn't, yeah, I don't know, I wasn't a fan of it. Um, especially when you see it in contrast with what Ed does, like a couple moments later. Um, because I don't really know in that instance, like what does he really want? Like he just seems the the white being in there kind of just seemed like a jerk.
No, yeah, he was definitely a dickhead for some
Majority
apparent
of
reason.
this, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
he was
in the
kind of like,
beginning
man.
of this too. He's like, actually, I'm taking your arm. Actually, I'm taking your leg. And then it's like, oh, actually, you want your body back? Here it is. Um, so I don't know what I thought about that. My instinct is like I didn't care much for it. Um, that's just my instinct for it. Um, Alphonse can't move, so Ed sacrifices his own ability to do transmutation to restore Alphonse's body and bring it back to the world.
I love that
And
moment, man. This
it's
is the
good.
final, alchemy from Edward Eric, the Full Metal Alchemist.
I'm saying, I was like, listen, man, there ain't gonna be no season two. There ain't gonna be no
Yeah, listen,
Full
bro,
Metal
it's
Alchemist.
definitive. It's
Yeah,
definitive.
it's definitive.
There's no hint of a part two. There is no like
They probably could if they wanted to,
there's
but
no
not
loose
really.
ends that just don't, connect together at the end. Like shit, even Scar's moment, right? Like Scar
Hmm.
having to be, Scar being the one that truly activates the reverse transmutation circle. And like
Hmm.
even Hohenheim like being like, no, his brother figured out about this, and like even his own brother playing a role because you hear about him a lot, and like his own brother playing a role in his own research of finding out the reverse transmutation circle. Like once again, everybody plays a role and everybody gets to touch the ball just a bit. That just like everything comes together. There is nothing that is left unexplained. There's nothing that's really left like, well, why did they bring that up, or why did they bring him in there? What was his point? Like everybody had a point, like whether it's big or small, but they played it, they contributed,
Hmm.
and they like all that. And you also see like you go, seeing at the end, and you kind of reflect back on kind of the moments before, you see why Ed had to give up his alchemy. He even explains it of just like, man, I spent my whole life believing in alchemy, believing in um this thing. I tried to use it to fix everything. I thought it was like the perfect explanation of uh you know of what science is and what the world is about. And he was just like,
Right.
and at the end I see like in reality, like this thing that I believed in also is the reason for so much harm and so much pain and so much like
Hmm.
destruction that has happened in this country and things around me. So he was like, is it as truly perfect as I thought it was? Is it as truly the reason and the answer to everything as I once thought it was? And it's not. Like I would rather give this up to keep all the relationships and keep all the things in my life that actually have real meaning and have real um value to me, uh
Hmm.
than to continue to do this thing that once again has that isn't as perfect as I once thought it was.
Absolutely. It was a great ending. It was a great to see Al back in his body, albeit very decrepit, um, malnourished.
Malnourished, no
Need a haircut.
pedicure, no manicure. His nails are
Nah,
nasty.
nasty. It's pretty bad. But he's back nonetheless. He's able to feel things and explore things and touch things. And he touches his own arm. He's like, that's warm. And I was like, damn, that's fire. Um, how did you feel about the death of Hohenheim at the end of it? His story, his arc. He got to finish the story and able to die in front of the grave of his wife.
The one of the best parts is him finally getting called father by Ed. He was just like, he finally called me dad. He said, although he said crappy in front of it, he was like, he finally called me father. And it's like, I think that he was able to get the closure that he wanted. And one of his closest friends being the one to like find him. And like it was a beautiful moment for him. I think it was just an excellent way to close it all out of like, here's this guy who was at the center of all this. Not by his own asking, like not like he never asked for immortality. He never asked for any of that. He never, and I think he, for someone who had lived as long as he did, seen all the things that he did, he was able to like to fall in love, and he was able to have kids, and he was able to experience these things that he once thought like he could never experience. And for him to like die at the grave of the woman that he chose to love, and the woman that that gave him all that, to like I said, be called father by his own kid, although they were, he was so angry at him, to be recognized as that, to have his like best friend who was really the one that put so much into, that kind of led him on this path of like, listen, you think so little of humans, but like we're not that bad. Like it's the, like that moment at the campfire. And so I think he just has this great, like full circle moment, and for him to like, die with a smile on his face, and to look like he went peacefully, is
Absolutely.
he deserved that. He earned that.
So the final episode, we get a break from all the. I like that the final episode didn't like overlap with all the destruction and battle and all the other stuff like that. Like the final episode is truly like a conclusion, maybe even in some aspects an epilogue to kind of all the events that happen. We get a number of things that happen. Dr. Knox brings Dr. Marco to Mustang, and despite his blindness, he says, "Hey, here is a Philosopher's Stone." And Mustang accepts it, but I think he's going to use it on Gene Havoc first. That's what's implied. It's like, I can live with blindness. Give Gene Havoc the ability to
get on his feet again, literally.
Yeah, and then just be amazing. Miles invites Scar to help rebuild Ishval to preserve the Ishvalan culture, so they're out on that mission. Ling and Mei head back to Jing. Ling becomes emperor, promising to protect the Chang clan. So that's happened. Ed and Al return to Risam Ball and reunite with Winry, which was a great moment.
Amazing moment, yeah.
2 years pass. Ed and Al continue their journey, while Al learns alchemy from Mei. Celine, with still his homunculus mark, shows compassion for a bird while Mrs. Bradley raises him. But the Fuhrer is like, listen, man, if he starts acting up,
we gotta, hey, oh Yeller, give him that.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh
Ain't
Yeller
afraid.
treatment.
We ain't doing that pride nothing, you know.
Yeah, we ain't doing none of that shit.
We ain't doing that right
They're
now.
gonna make his mark a little bit like less nipply.
Yeah, I was like, is it a Band-Aid? Is it a nipple? Like, what are we doing here?
There's an areola on his head, man.
Yeah, I was like, that's getting made fun of, and that's how you become a homunculi.
Yeah, you give him an uphill battle.
Al plans to travel to Jing to learn alchemy with Jerso and Zampano, so they can also get their bodies back. While Ed heads west to learn about alchemy. Winry sees Ed off at the train station and they share a heartfelt goodbye. And the ending pans over the fates of various characters, including Hohenheim's Grey next to Trisha, Scar's rebuilding Vishval,
Hey, my man grew
Mustang.
his hair out, got a little ponytail.
Listen, you learn finer things in life. Life don't have to be all about hate. Mustang's role in Reconstruction, and Ed's family with Winry, and that is it's a great ending to a great series. So, I'm asking you this question one more time. We ask it at the beginning of this. Is this the greatest anime series of all time?
Yes, absolutely, bar none. There is no way anyone could ever. This is the peak of anime. This is why anime was created. This is the pinnacle. This is the peak of the mountain for me. This is it. This is absolutely it. You get one great continuous story that has everything you want in it. It has all the elements. It has mystery. It has growth. It has lighthearted moments, heavy moments. You get this true adventure of this story. It's the like perfect like length of a story. Like everything about it for me is just it's a 10 out of 10. Like there is nothing about this that like feels that it falls short in any area. The animation is great. Um you get a plethora of characters that you can just fall in love with and enjoy. You have an amazing villain with a great plot. Like it's what once again, this is what anime is all about. This is the peak for me. And yeah, like for me, it's the goat. It is number one. This is the greatest anime of all time.
It is. I'll say this. Adam watched this for a very, very long time. Um, and perhaps it's my journey with Attack on Titan for a very, very long time that puts it in the upper echelon of that. Fullmetal Alchemist is one of the greatest of all time. It is one of the greatest by far. It is an amazing story. It is a great ride to go through. It is fulfilling and satisfying, which is ultimately what you want. You don't necessarily want those. This is what will make it. It makes it a better story. I think people proclaim it better because I feel like you get a much more satisfying ending than maybe like Naruto or One Piece. Oh, One Piece hasn't ended, but One Piece has gone on too long for it to be satisfying. Well, actually, no, it can still be satisfying, but it's still pretty long. I'm like, this accomplishes what it needs to accomplish in 64 episodes. One Piece is over 1,100 episodes at this point. But I don't know. This is really, really good. I'll say that. I was locked in. As soon as we finished recording episodes for this, I would start the next batch almost immediately. Um, because it just had me hooked like that. It's
Yeah.
like it's still
So,
1B for me.
and I'm okay with that because I think that the biggest thing with this and Attack on Titan, it essentially breaks down for me how do you like your story being told?
Mm,
I think that is just the biggest difference between the two of them. How do you like your story being told? Do you like it in this very linear way where it's just like, hey man, this is a story, this is that, or do you like it in an AOT kind of way where we had this conversation maybe last episode or episode 4 where it's like, okay, it's broken up a little bit more by arcs.
hmm
you know Things are stretched out further, but you have these kind of definitive like like chapters or sagas where you're like, okay, like this saga, that
Right,
saga, that saga, and they all come together.
right.
Um and I think that's like really the big difference between the two. I do feel that you know once again, one edge that I give Full Metal over AOT is that I think AOT is just serious throughout. I think it's harder to find those kind of lighthearted moments in there. Um which is okay, and no knock to it. Uh but outside of that, I really do believe that these two series whether it be 1A, 1B, or anything like that. It just legit breaks down to how do you like your stories being told to you? How do you like things being laid out for you? How do you enjoy it? And that's really it. I think both of them do very excellent things. I think they're excellent in so many different areas. Yeah, I think that's the deciding factor of like who you're gonna choose to be your 1A, who you're gonna choose to be your 1B.
Right. This is pretty good. It was good to get through this. It was good to explore this. I feel like it's a good checklist of our bucket list. It is amazing. Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. That is the end of that. We plan to be back soon. I need to take a week off though, because I have WrestleMania stuff that I
Yeah,
have to.
big mania soon.
Yeah, so maybe a week off is all that we need. Um, I want to talk current stuff, but then we also have other stuff that we want to talk about as well, so we can include that as well. But I want to get back to a couple current stuff. It's Solo Leveling is finishing up. Ninja Kamui I have not started seeing yet, but I'm gonna in this week and a half off. I'm going to watch it, be able to give some good early
Class
thoughts
1 of
on
the
it.
Elite is wrapping up.
It is okay, so I can continue. I was starting it over, and then I was like, I don't remember what happened. So I was just like, all right, let me refamiliarize myself, and then I'll continue it. So I'm gonna do that. Um, but yeah, let us know what you want to hear from us. We're open
Okay,
at anything until summer at Kame House.
before we go,
Okay,
who are you want 5 or 3?
3.
Who are your top 3 alchemists?
Um, does Dr. Marco count?
Yeah, he counts as alchemist.
I'm gonna put 3 Dr. Marco because he's a one hitter quitter. Um, I'm gonna put 2 Mustang. And then number 1, just some fire shit. I'm trying to think.
That person was not going the speed limit.
No, they never do. Trying to think. Okay, Alchemist and full Mustang. Da, 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 da. You know what? Who had it? Azumi. How about that? Azumi Curtis. She was pretty badass. So I'm gonna go number 1, Azumi Curtis. Number 2, Mustang. Number 3, Dr. Marco.
I like that. That's a good list.
What are your 3?
My top 3. I actually this I do. I didn't even have a list.
I didn't either, but here I am.
Yeah, here I am. Scar, number 3.
Okay, I like that.
2 Mustang, also.
Okay. Mei Chang was pretty good too.
Mei Chang was nice. She was nice with it. And she had the long distance.
Yeah,
You
she
know.
got busy. She got
Yeah,
busy.
she definitely got busy. Uh
You choose Ed.
Fuck it. Yeah, I was gonna say, fuck it. I gotta give it to my other short king.
Yeah, Ed.
I
Well,
gotta
he's
give it
not
to
short no
Ed. Ed
more.
number 1.
He grew up throughout the series. He's definitely became a tall king throughout the series.
Yeah, for sure. My man, listen, he went from 5'6" to 5'8".
And it showed. That's awesome. Okay. Listen, thank you guys for tuning in, of course. Subscribe. You know where to subscribe. I don't even have to tell you at this point. Let us know what you want to hear from us. I am looking forward. I've been rereading My Hero from pretty much where the anime season 7 begins to where it's at now. It has been fucking awesome. So I look forward to continue doing that. I'm gonna do that. I might do that right after this. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah, we will. You know, stay tuned. We got a lot of things in store. We got a lot in store. It's gonna be a great year. I could just say that, like, just year wise, looking at all the things that we can do are going to do. It's
Stay
gonna be a
tuned,
great
stay
year.
ready, stay blessed. Don't meet us there, beat us there. Look out. We'll see you guys next time. Peace.